opportunity for Charlotte off the set piece. It is going to be the man out of Poland. The shot, yes!
Alcivar, and it's gone in. It's an Olympico. Shiki pulls it back. The shot, and another goal. And look who's coming on. Ryan Romero. Here's Romero. Hit the shot, kid.
Goal!
For the city, for the crown.
And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Offsides Podcast, the unofficial official podcast of Charlotte Football Club. I'm your host, as always, Andres Robledo, and I am joined by my co-host, who has returned from his snowy adventures up in the great mountains of West Virginia, the Pablo Robledo. Pablo, how was your vacation / scouting trip? Did you find any good soccer players up in those mountains?
I found no soccer players. It's just a bunch of ice and snow. But it was good. No
Yeah?
broken legs.
Nice. Did you ski or snowboard?
Ski, man.
Oh, nice. Keeping
How about
it
you?
classic.
What do you think? I'm Johnny Tsunami?
Dude, yeah. Absolutely. You kidding me? The movie that inspired Snow White. Or what's his name? Shaun White. Snow White.
Shops. Both.
Oh, well, I'm
Shaun
glad you
White
had fun
on
over the
Snow White.
weekend. Oh, God. Well, I'm glad you had a fun weekend. Mine was, I'd say an 8 out of 10. Would have been a 10 out of 10 if Saturday went a little different, but, can't complain. So let's jump into the episode. First thing I wanted to talk to you about, you watched the game a little later. You weren't able to attend, unfortunately, because you're out having fun. But you did get to use the new Apple TV MLS pass and hashtag not an ad. What did you think of the experience? Like, give me your thoughts on watching the game through that as opposed to like ESPN Plus or whatever we were using before.
Well, on ESPN Plus, they were practically non-existent. I think there was 2 or 3 games that actually came on the game or the app. Everything else was through Hulu playbacks.
Yeah. It was always like a roundabout way of trying to find a replay of the game.
Exactly. So, as far as finding the matches, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 just because I had to navigate a lot through the menu to figure out how to find the whole match because I just kept going back to the highlights and I was like, okay, so maybe they just don't do that.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, besides that, I thought it was good. They cut out all the commercials, whatever halftime commentators or stats that they were going to throw out, they cut it out. They just start the game at the beginning, end at the 45, and then start it again. Graphics was pretty plain, though. It was when they had the score on the scoreboard showing up.
Yeah, the top left corner one.
Yeah, exactly. It was they didn't have the logos or anything. It was just the blue for Charlotte and then the other
It's just
blue.
a colored square. Yeah.
Yeah. And every now and then they would throw a stat up for shots taken, but even that was kind of hard to decipher because it would just be X shot .93. I'm like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what they're trying to do, but graphics, much improvement.
Yeah, and by you mean the quality of the video?
No, I mean the quality of the video was good. It was good playback of the whole game. I'm just talking in regards to them.
Finally getting 1080p quality.
Yeah, exactly.
We've moved up from 2008 quality to 2012 quality.
The 480.
We'll get 4K eventually. 4 or 5 more years, and we'll be there.
3D.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, that would make me vomit.
No, but when I say quality, I mean it's just the graphics they put up on the top right corner or any transitions. It was non-existent. I thought it was very basic.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just one little thing. Everything else was great.
Yeah.
I hope they keep doing it.
Yeah, I rewatched the game using the Apple TV app, and one thing I did also was it didn't just start the playback didn't start as soon as they kicked off. You got to see like us put up the tifo, like a little bit of like the opening ceremony kind of thing. So I thought that was cool. And then like the biggest thing for me was just like, again, like getting 1080p quality in 2023 was nice. I mean, I could not stand that last year, especially when we'd go back to like watch the game or like watch highlights on YouTube, and you're like, all right, who's that blurry group of pixels? Is that Bronico? Is that Swiderski? Who is? I can't really tell until they zoom in. Oh, okay, yeah, that's who it was. Like, and now I can actually see who players are and whatnot. So, you know, like I said, it's not up to 2023 standards. You know, we're in the early 2010 standards, but I'll take it. I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
Overall, I think big improvement.
Agreed.
Yep. And now to less pleasant news. As we all know, you know, we had our home opener this past weekend against New England Revolution. One thing I did want to touch on was just the atmosphere of the game. Definitely a little bit lower energy than the first game last year against LA Galaxy. And I think, you know, I get that. One, not the same type of weather. The team, like the opponent, is not as like hyped up. Like LA Galaxy is one of the, if not the biggest team in the league, brand recognition wise. Like, you know, so I get that. Like, not a lot of people wanting to come out for that or something. But the energy was definitely different than that first game. It was like a little bit more tame, and not as like a big of a celebration, which I kind of get with some of the, like, you know, they did a beautiful like remembrance for Anton, who passed away earlier this year. So it's kind of hard to like go through that and then also be like, all right, yeah, let's go. Like, let's jump into the season. Like, let's party. Like, yeah, that's a hard combo to get right. So I think they did their best. And again, like, weather played a big part in it. Like, they were going to do like a big drone show, I think at halftime or before kickoff or something, and that got canceled because of some rain. So I get it, but still a huge turnout, a little over 69,000. So that's still a massive crowd for that stadium. And I think it was the biggest crowd in the southeast of all MLS, and definitely top 5 of the entire league.
That's still good,
if not higher. Yeah, so extremely good turnout. Not the result we wanted, but we can jump into that. So let's go ahead and get into it. 1-0 loss. Pablo, what did you think of the match?
Very surprised, honestly. I thought we were gonna come out with a win. I know originally I predicted like a 3-0, but that was just like a very hopeful. But I was still thinking we were just gonna have a home win.
Yeah.
So what's that? 0-2 in the home openers now.
Not only that, but we've never even scored a goal in a home opener. So that's a fun little stat that we have.
Yeah. So, but still, I think the team overall looked decent.
Yeah, there were some flashes for sure.
Yeah, exactly. There's room for improvement, and just kind of tightening up on a couple of like the departments, defense clearing out the ball, or just finishing the attack on the third.
Yeah, that was my kind of biggest takeaway too, especially on the offensive side of the ball, was just like you could just tell the timings and the chemistry just aren't there, especially with Swiderski and Kopetti. Like, there was just times where like one was like dribbling through the middle and one wanted like the pass and it just came too late, or they would like run into each other, or one would like play a ball that the other wasn't expecting and it kind of went nowhere. And it was other players as well, like Bronico had a really good like sneaky little pass to Nathan Byrne late in the game, and he wasn't expecting that and kind of led to nothing.
Yeah.
So a bunch of like just stuff that they'll figure it out. It's still early in the season, and I think after like the preseason we had, people are expecting the offense to just come out clicking, and it looks like there's still some work to be done there. But I will say, definitely I see more potential in this offense than I did last season. We at least had a lot of chances to score, and could have been in this game the ball would have fallen certain ways or certain passes would have got made. So it was a close affair. I would say, it was a very back and forth game.
Yeah, I think let me see. I'm on Sofa Score right now. As far as possession, it was pretty even keel, but Charlotte was favored more just a little bit. We had like 54% where they had 46.
Okay.
But like total shots, it was even. It was like 15 and 15. Shots on target was 4 and 5. Block shots was 3 and 6. So it was pretty even throughout the whole thing. But I think it just goes back to what you said as like just developing that team chemistry. Because like just all of last season, they were refiguring the main squad, the starting lineup, battling for starting positions, especially on the wingers.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, hopefully they don't do that again this season. But it's a whole new team out there. Out of
Yeah.
Mars starting lineup, I think the only ones that are truly left is Swiderski and Bronico. I don't know if anybody else, and Yazviak, even though he was brought in a little late.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even if you just look at like the back line, right? Like the only guy that's been there for more than a year is Mora.
Exactly.
The whole back line's new. Yeah, again, like you said, Bronica's pretty much the only midfielder that's been there for a whole year. I guess Swiderski as well, but then and then Gaines has been there for a while, but then like Kopetti and Yazwick haven't been there a full year. Vargas came on, he hasn't been there a full year. Shinshinsky came on, he hasn't been there a full year. So yeah, I mean, it's still like not a whole lot of time that these guys have been teammates together.
Yeah, and practice to preseason to actual matches, it's all a different beast.
Yeah.
Also, it looked like New England played very deep on their defensive line, which I think kind of might have hurt Kopetti just a bit. Just from watching some of his highlights and just the preseason goals that he had, he likes to get those runaway goals. Where
he likes to run in behind.
Exactly.
Kind of chase that through ball down.
But like the defense played very deep, and it was hard for him to even do that.
Yeah, they did not let him do it at all. They kind of just gave us all that space down the line. One thing I will mention though is like, it felt like a lot of our offense boiled down to like crosses into the box or like cutbacks into the box, and kind of similar to last year, but I felt like this year there was like the actual threat of an end product. Mora had a great cross to Ashley Westwood like early in the first half that like almost went in. Vargas in the second half had a header that like came off the post. A couple other instances that I'm definitely forgetting. So definitely, again, like it feels like there's more potential and like more angles that this team can attack from. One thing I will know is it seems like we're still pretty bad at corner kicks. I think we had like 3 and nothing really came of them.
Yeah, you're right.
Some of the positives though, I thought the back line was very good. I think, when Mora is your weakest link in that back line and he had a really good, or not really good game, but he had a good game, like
I thought
very
he had
solid.
A really good game.
Yeah, I guess so. Like he had some good crosses in, like got up the field a lot, like defended very well. And, he's not like a superstar player or like a name that jumps off the sheet. And like, again, like when he's kind of your weak link in that back line, like, man, that's comforting. Like I feel very comfortable with this back line.
Yeah, I was even kind of worried a little bit when he seemed to have like gotten hurt.
Yeah, because there's really no replacement.
Well, yeah, not only that, but it was like, remember last season when Fuchs, I think, was hurt and Mora stepped up, and you and I both thought he filled that role very well, and a lot of people were just kind of hating on it. They didn't really like Mora, but I still don't see what the issue is. I mean,
I guess he's not like super flashy. Like, he's just gonna play like fundamentals, and I mean, he gets the job done and gets into good positions. Like I said, he almost set up Westwood to score.
Yeah,
I think he just like doesn't stand out, but it also doesn't feel like he's ever like at fault for anything really either. Like his floor is really high.
Yeah, I mean, he's not out there like fouling guys, real hard, or like getting calls on. But that's good. You don't want your defense to yell or red out. And he's up there helping the attack as well. Like even Bronico passed off a little pass to him, right inside the box. I mean, so he's running up, helping the attack. He's running back, clearing out balls. He's real good for on that position. Whereas like if you compare him to Bayern, is it Bayern? However you
I think
say
it's
his name.
Burn. Yeah.
Burn. Okay, we'll go with Burn. I didn't see him up on the attack in front as much.
Yeah, I think more in the second half you saw him.
Probably, but Mora was just consistent with it. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm good with Mora as a starting, left back, left wing back, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah, same. So, who are, besides Mora, who are some other players that kind of just stood out to you for good or bad?
Let's see. Malanda, I thought did well. He had that one instance where he had to like run back when those guys had a breakaway, and I mean, good thing he's got those long legs. I think it was around the 77th minute or so, where like Malanda runs back and then Tulioma either kicks it out or also clears it out. So I think those two work together pretty well. Who else? I'm still iffy on the Swiderski and Capetti duo. It seemed to work a little better when it was Shindashinsky and Capetti.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably another thing we'll talk about here later is the lack of subs. So we didn't get to see as like many combinations. I think Vargas did a much better job than Yazviak on that left wing. But I will say this, Yazviak played just a tad better than he did last season. He seemed to really be getting after balls, trying to send some crosses or doing a couple hold-up plays. So I wasn't too disappointed in Yazviak's play.
Yeah, it's interesting you frame it that way because, like, when I was watching the game, my big thoughts on Yazviak were he gets into good positions, but then just does nothing with it. Like, he'll try to cut inside and just get stuffed up by, like, 2 or 3 guys. Or he'll either, like, send in a poor cross or hold on to it too long and then, like, Mora can't overlap or he gets, like, shut down. So it felt like he got into good positions, but just couldn't do anything with it. And then on the opposite side with Gaines, who I thought was going to have a really good game, it felt like he, especially like the entire first half, he did a little bit better in the second half, but that whole first half, it felt like he just couldn't like get past like the middle of the field. Like it seemed like he would get the ball pretty high up New England's half and then like just not be able to turn with it or just passed it off. Like, I don't know, it just felt like, we didn't really push down that right side with him, which was surprising with, his speed and like, he usually will just take the guy for a run.
Well, yeah, but that's
it just felt like he didn't do anything.
New England played that defense so far back. It's hard to run past a guy when you're running at him.
But he didn't even do that though, as where like Yazviak would. Like Yazviak would kind of dribble at guys. So it was just kind of like
Gaines
weird juxtapositions of the game, of like their games.
Gaines seemed to kind of get the ball and just almost immediately have like 2 guys on him, and I don't know if he just focused too much on where guys were and not to where his like teammates were, but like he couldn't get a good pass to get out of trouble, or he just lost the ball. Even his crosses weren't that incredible. Like they were just straight.
They were like last year at the beginning of the season, just
like he couldn't
out of bounds or like they were really poor.
Yeah, he needs to work on getting that curve in.
Yeah. But yeah, those are kind of my again, like both guys, and for me, like especially the Yazviak situation, like he still has that, DP title on him, and it's just like, man, we're not getting anything out of it, and
right.
kind of similar game for Serdersky. And we saw this last season of Serdersky where he was, either hot or cold. And I guess this game he kind of came out cold. And like you said, I thought Shinshinsky played that spot better than he did. And again, Vargas coming on, I think was huge. I thought he had a heck of a game. I think he cemented himself as should be a starter for the next game and let him fight to keep that spot. But from what we saw this past game, I think that's probably the most open spot on the roster right now is that those winger positions. So we'll see. Any other players?
Well, just going back to Vargas, I think Vargas came on around the 63rd-ish minute, and almost right away he had an impact. He had a good cross. To
Capetti, I believe. Right?
Yeah, was it Capetti?
Believe so.
He had a good cross there. Later on in the game, he had a couple step overs and he took a shot.
Yeah.
He had the header towards the end. No, but I mean, it's,
but at least he's taking it.
At least he's taking it, and he's dialing it in, getting it warmed up.
Yeah.
But still, it's as far as Serdersky or even Capetti, they had been playing 70+ minutes and hadn't had a shot off yet.
Yeah.
So I think, like what you said, Vargas should start on that left side. That right side, I still don't know if Gaines is the man for it. I'm thinking Nuno Santos. I'm thinking Nuno Santos needs to be on the right side.
Yeah, especially if we heard that's where the coach wants to try him out. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me to the first little topic. Unless you had any final notes about the overall performance of the game.
No.
It's kind of the first thing I wanted to touch on was did Lattanzio get that starting 11 right for this game? For me, I think he got 8 or 9 out of 11 right. Maybe 8 out of 11. We can talk about that in a little bit, but yeah, I just don't think he played the right wingers. Especially I think the big one for me is just not starting Vargas after the preseason he's had. And everything I've saw from him in the preseason, from the videos they posted and whatnot, and the way how he's pretty much always had an impact when he comes on. To start Jozwiak, who I get also had a good preseason, but has just not really lived up to the moment. I think he still probably needs to earn that starting spot back. I think that's my biggest gripe, was just not starting Vargas. And I think we would have saw a different game if he did. What about you? Is there anything else you would have, seen differently in that starting 11?
Let's see. I think the back line, I think he got absolutely right with Tulioma, Milanda, Burn. What did we decide on? Burn. and Mora. Bronigo, I'm still very iffy. He's good for getting out there, putting guys on the floor, somehow not getting any yellows.
That was surprising.
And I guess maybe putting some sort of intimidation factor.
I think he's also best used on the offensive side of the ball too, more than, and I think a lot of people see him still as that defensive center mid, and I think Westwood's probably better at that. I think Jones is probably better at that, but him going forward I think is really good. I think you could even if Serdersky keep kind of not doing well at the center attacking mid position, I think you could throw Bronico up there to see how he does, because he can dribble, he can take it around guys. His passing's pretty good. We've seen him shoot a couple of times. He doesn't always let it rip, but sometimes he will.
I mean, he had
the
one
only thing
shot.
I worry about though is the fouls.
You
don't want your creative force to foul out.
Well, and the thing is, we have so many options in that midfield or the center defensive mid where it wouldn't even matter if he fouled out or just got a yellow and he couldn't play the next game or so, because you have also Jones that could fill in for that role. You got You got Westwood that could also fill in for that role, even though he was somewhere. Well, he was still in that defensive mid, but just a little more forward than Bronico was.
Yeah.
But we have options there. So I'm not too worried about that. But I don't know. I think at this point, it's like the coach just needs to realize that maybe Yazviak is a lemon, and he needs to just face. Like, I get he's a DP, and I think that's maybe the main reason he's starting him over somebody like Santos or Vargas. Some of these players that have shown that they put more effort out there, or there's more chances created when they're out there than when they're not. So
I do wonder if it's maybe pressure from like the general manager or something. Like
it just
hey,
it
gotta throw
doesn't
him out
make
there
sense,
for this
right?
game.
Yeah, it just doesn't, or it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because like all the preseason hype I heard about Yazvik was also towards the last two preseason games, and I don't know if we mentioned it before, not on the podcast, but I know we've talked about it before, where it seems like he just beats up on these USL teams because like his debut was against I think, what was it, Greensboro or whatever, like the USL team in the Open Cup, and he did well there, and we're like, oh dang, he looks pretty good. But then we just like never really saw anything in the MLS from him.
Yeah, exactly.
And then this preseason game, he beats up Charleston and Birmingham, and it's like, oh man, like Yazrek's figured it out. And it's like, all right, well, it's USL teams. Like, no offense to them, but it is a little bit different, right?
Yeah, same thing goes for like Gaines. He did well against those USL teams. Open Cup, I think he even had a goal, and then now it's just kind of like, he's got to face some real talent.
Yeah, I think Gaines towards the end of last season showed out a bit more, and it looked like he was figuring things out. But yeah, Saturday's performance looked like more like the original Gaines that we saw.
Yeah, and then I think lastly is probably just the Swiderski Capetti combination there. I think that can work. It probably just needs a little more time to develop.
Yeah, I think the other thing too we're noticing is consistency might be an issue with Swiderski, right? Like, I mean, he can get hot and be one of the best players in the league, but he can also get pretty damn cold, like as we saw Saturday, and just not really have an impact on the game at all. Besides, rolling around on the field.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I hate that he does is, when he throws those little Swiderski fits, and
especially once we've already gotten like the call.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I think it was the first half where it was right outside the box and he didn't get the call, and he like was just wailing out there, and that was just ugly. I was like, that's ugly.
Yeah.
But he's a good hold-up player. I think he just needs to work on holding on to that ball just a little longer so Capetti can make those runs. There was an instance around maybe the 38th minute when Swiderski, from looking at the game, I felt like if he would have held up the ball just a little bit longer while Capetti was making the run, he could have passed it to Yazviak. And then Yazviak could have had maybe a nice shot on the left side. Because when Capetti was making that run, he was like taking two defenders with him. They were like following him, and Yazviak was wide open on the left, but he ended up passing it to Capetti instead, and just early too. Capetti could have maybe got away from those defenders and made something happen, but it was like that hold-up play just needs a little bit of tweaking, and I think it'll be a good dual combination in the future.
Yeah, because there's also some moments that I recall where he held on to it for a little too long, like trying to take the guy on and just lost it, or played it right into like pressure. So it was like, man, it's got to be one or the other. Like, let it go early, or take it yourself. But yeah, he's got to figure that out. But that kind of brings me to my next question. After this for this match, some thoughts we had after the match. Speaking of Swiderski, like as we said, he didn't really impress us at that center attacking mid position. Chinichinsky came on, had a way better performance in 30 minutes, and Swiderski ended up moving out to the right wing because Shinny took on Gaines, and so Swiderski took Gaines' spot. And again, I wasn't super impressed. Like, he doesn't play with a lot of speed down the wing. Didn't really see any great crosses. Didn't really cut in to shoot. just kind of felt like he didn't know how to play the position, or it wasn't comfortable doing so, or just didn't come as natural, which I think totally, that's understandable. But my question is, if Shinsky keeps outplaying him at the center attacking mid spot, and Kopetti, if we think he's the striker that's going to be, and kind of keeps him out of that number 9 spot, and who knows, Vargas and Santos might take over the winger spots. Like, where does Karol Swiderski fit into this to this system, into the starting 11, especially being like the DP guy, right? What do you think of that? Like, do you think that could be a situation that Lattanzio sees himself in, and that the team sees himself in, where he just doesn't, not saying he's a bad player or anything, but just doesn't really fit into the system anymore?
Well, I mean, it probably just goes down to like performance, if he's or the chemistry of it. If Shinsky and Kopetti are linking up better, and Shinsky's, when he's playing that center attacking mid, we're seeing better results, then common sense says leave Shinsky in there.
Yeah.
The thing I didn't really agree with too much, especially when Gaines was subbed out for Shinsky and put on that right side, was like, I'm thinking, is Shinsky just being left in there because he's a DP? Like, I felt like somebody else. You're Swiderski.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is Swiderski being left in there because he's a DP, or because he could handle that position? It didn't look like he played that position well. And it almost seemed like he was just unhappy to be put
there
at that position. Yeah, it was like,
I got
but you can't
that
take
too.
him. Yeah, but then also it's like you can't take him out because he's a DP. Whereas,
Because I
Nuno
think it
Santos
would have
could have
made.
been playing that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think it would have made more sense to sub Gaines and Swiderski off and put Chinisinski and Santos on, and just see how that goes, right? Especially, well, I don't think we were down 1-0, but yeah, we weren't down 1-0 yet. But it's a game that needed some new looks on the offensive side, right? We needed to switch things up a bit more than what we did.
Yeah, it was still 0-0, so maybe the coach is just tinkering, just trying to figure things out. It's at the end of it all, it's the first match of the season. So
yeah,
there's some room for error.
Yeah, and I'm sure from Lattanzio's perspective too, like, it's a lose-lose, right? If you take Swiderski off and it's still 1-0, people are going to complain and be like, why did you take off one of your best offensive pieces? And, he kept them on, and, we're kind of saying like, well, maybe you should have put someone else on. So, I mean, it's a lose-lose either way from him, unfortunately.
You're right.
I think it's going to be an interesting situation to like monitor. Like, I still want to see him in the starting 11 next game, because like I said, he could get hot, right? Like, he could find the back of the net, or he could set Kopetti or one of the wingers up. Like, he definitely has the potential. But if like these next 3 or 4 games, like, if again, like, Shinsky plays better than him at the cam, and Kopetti plays better than him at the striker, I'm fine to keep giving him like 2 more tries at right wing. But if that doesn't work out, like, I just don't know where he fits in. But again, it's all kind of based on his performance and Chinisinski's performance and a bunch of factors. But I think it's one that will be interesting to monitor.
No, yeah, exactly. It's just keep a little side note there on how those are playing out.
The next thing we wanted to talk about was Kopetti debut thoughts. I think, in my eyes, it seems like New England pretty much strategized their defense against him, and just like you said, didn't play a high line, like, stayed back. They're like, if you want the space, you can have it, but you're not running in behind us. And I thought he had some good battles in the middle of the box, like trying to win headers and get into some decent positions, but just wasn't really able to, like, I don't think he blew the waters out or anything like that. I thought they kind of nullified him pretty well, but I could see the potential there, What do you think?
I think he did well. I think once he figured out that they figured him out, he started distributing the ball more. I saw a couple of like attempted backheel passes or just backwards passes to guys that were open or had more space.
Yeah, the one to Swiderski at the halfway line, where if he doesn't get fouled there, he's on a breakaway. Like, that pass was friggin' nice. That
Yeah.
needs to be a picture hung up in a museum.
Well, I mean, he still didn't score, but still, it was nice.
But just like the idea, like the attempt, like when that plays off, like when that does click, like those are gonna be some highlight reels.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like Capetti, he's a good enough player, and I think a good enough threat where defenses like he's lowering defensive players to cover him, where it leaves other players open, just like we talked about earlier, where if Sadurski holds up the ball better, Yazviak can shoot it, or you know what I mean, where he can create space for others without even having the ball. So I think whether defenses plan to just like shut off his run, it creates chances for Sadurski or Shanshinsky or any of these wingers. Or I mean, shoot, we even saw Tulioma take a shot from outside the box, a little sniper, because he had all that space in front of him.
Yeah.
Bronico, he had a chance as well. And that's because all the defenses that were just like trying to keep up with Capetti and how far he's bringing them in. So
Yeah.
I think it'll work in our favor either way. Whether they try to
Teams
just
are gonna
cover.
have to gamble, right? They're gonna have to
Exactly.
gamble of covering Copetti extra or letting him play his game and hope he doesn't
exactly.
find the back of the
or
net.
push. Yeah, or bring the defensive line up and Capetti can make those runs.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. So you spoke on the next guy. I wanted to talk about Tuluma's debut. I thought was fantastic. Stud in that back line. I think his clearances need a little bit of work. I think the whole team's clearances need a little bit of work, honestly. But man, that sniper shot, oh my gosh, that is what we've been asking for, man. And to come from a center back, like
Yeah.
that thing was per tee. It was
Yeah,
like
it was nice. I thought it
almost
was
on
going in.
frame, nice and low, kind of knuckling, came out of nowhere. Like all those guys are in the box, like maybe it ricochets off one of them. Like, dude, that's what we've been talking about. Like, just let that thing fly sometimes.
Yeah, you got to take it while you have the space.
Yeah. And I thought him and Malanda complement each other very well. They
Yeah.
both play very like aggressively, but also like composed and like almost like technical and artistically.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was probably one of the best center back pairings we've seen, and for it to be a debut, like that was super comfortable with that back line again. So I thought he had a great debut.
Now, we didn't see Carujo in that starting lineup or even the subs at all. Is he still injured?
He is still coming off the injury. He trained with the first team today, February 28th. So we might see him against St. Louis this weekend. He might be on the bench. But, man, I don't know. I don't see how you can justify messing with this back line. I really don't.
Yeah, and that would be like a good player to reserve for some of like these cup runs, the Open Cup or the Summer Cup we have coming up against the Liga MX, things like that, where maybe even like Sadurski, Shanshinsky takes a spot and just put Sadurski in for these cup runs and let Capetti have a rest.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and I feel bad for Carujo because like when the injury happened, he was playing really fantastic and was cementing himself as like one of the best center backs in the league, and it's just a tough situation to come back to, right? Like we found a stud out of nowhere in Malanda, and now we've got Tuluma, who's an experienced MLS player and is doing very well. So he's gonna probably just have to wait for an opportunity and try to take it by the horns. But yeah, for now, I probably see him being used as like an Open Cup guy, or like you said, this tournament against the Liga MX team, something like that. A more depth option until things change.
Yeah, or even just a sub overall if these guys get gassed or injured.
Yep. Agree.
But no, I liked his play back there, clean. Like you said, the clearances could probably use a little more work. But I was expecting a little bit more out of him on the corners. And that was only due to just what I saw on his highlight reels.
Yeah. No,
but I'm sure that'll come.
Yeah. Yep. And then the last debut was Westwood. I thought we saw his quality like pretty early on, where I don't know who it was from New England, but tried to like steal the ball from him, and he just like slide tackled them right back and like kept it. And it was like, man, that is like, you're not going to take the ball from him that easily. He's going to like keep it, stay composed, and like take the space that you just gave him, or like find the right pass. Almost scores off like a beautiful cross.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell he's a bit better. Yeah, for Mora. And you can tell he's a bit better at like taking the set pieces. We just couldn't get on the end of them. But, you know, any captain of the team, like, you know, good debut, good player. You know, I think exactly what we want in a center mid of that quality. So I was really impressed with his game.
Yeah, same here. He seemed to be all over the place, defensively and offensively. He had that real good idea with that through pass to Capetti. It was very tight, but it got cut off by the defense.
Yeah.
But if he would have gotten that pass off, I think Capetti would have probably scored with a runaway. You already mentioned the missed shot there from that cross by Mora, but I think this is just like a hint of what's coming. He seems like a real well-rounded player. So I'm happy that he's starting, and you know, he's taking that captain's armband.
Yeah.
He's gonna do good.
And then I did want to give a shout out to New England's number 11. I forget his name, but he was a Colombian player. He had a good one-time volley that Senior Saga, or however you pronounce his name, we're gonna have to figure that out eventually, was able to block. But I thought he was a standout player for New England, and the only reason I'm even mentioning it is because he's Colombian. So shout out to our Colombian brothers out there doing it. Hopefully we'll see you in the 2026 World Cup squad, my man.
Or the 2024 Copa America.
True, big facts. It's gonna be here in the States.
Dylan Borrero.
Yes, yeah, he had a good game. He was impressive. For any Colombian listeners, that's one to watch out for.
So did that Buck guy, though. That young
the
guy.
17-year-old? Yeah.
Yeah, I was impressed.
But he's not Colombian, so I don't care.
I'm still impressed.
Unless we can fake him a passport. Then we might be able to sneak him on the team. We're like, dude, he's born in Medellin. Can't you tell?
You could buy him a passport.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. No, I mean, to be 17 and play a full 90 minutes and be one of the standout players, like, yeah, that's pretty damn impressive. But not Colombian, so I don't care. All right, so moving on to the next little topic. What I wanted to ask you was, going up against this match against St. Louis, who's going to be your starting 11? What changes would you make to the one we saw this past weekend? And I think Colina trained with the first team as well today. So if you want, you can assume he's healthy.
Well, that's another one that we probably didn't really touch on, but we can briefly cover was Cisniega, Pablo Cisniega, the goalkeeper that started over Colina.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get that he got scored on, but I thought he did well the entire match.
Yeah, especially that double save where he had to dive to the left and then dive to the right to save the header.
I mean, New England started the game almost scoring on us before the first minute was even up. Luckily, the crossbar saved us, but I mean, he had that.
Well, they were offsides also.
Oh, well, true, but I mean, he had that jump and reach where, like, I think he would have covered it either way.
And the goal that they did score is also an angle that we've seen Colina get scored on a bunch, like that near post from the right side. Like, I don't think Colina's blocking that one either. Like, we've seen him get beat there a lot. So I think, it's definitely, to me, that starting goalkeeper spot is definitely up for debate.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think he has done anything to say he shouldn't start. But I get that Colina has like a whole season of, being the starter and some huge saves that kept us in some games. But we do got to remember some of the blunders he had too that kind of killed some games for us. So, it's definitely, I'm sure it's something that is haunting Latanzio's mind. I wouldn't want to have to make that decision. And that's why I don't get paid the big bucks.
Well, we don't get paid at all.
Yeah. So who?
But
So
no, yeah.
I guess starting with that goalkeeper position. I mean, are you taking your chances with Kalina and hoping he's back to 100% and has cleaned up his game a bit, or are you sticking with what has been working so far?
No, I'm sticking with Pablo. I like him.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to give him another shot, especially going up against who's it? Salt Lake,
St. Louis.
St. Louis, St. Louis. Their new team. Although they did beat Austin,
Yep.
3-2. It wasn't like a 1-0
On the road.
On yeah, exactly.
Their
On the road,
MLS debut on the
3-2.
road.
Crazy.
Very different than losing to DC United 3-0 for your
Yeah.
MLS debut.
Yeah. you winning on the road hard in the MLS.
Yeah.
Putting 3 up on the road harder in the MLS. Beating Austin on the road. So
Yeah.
like these guys are just like check, check, check. Okay, who's next? And it's
Yeah.
us. And we're going to their house. So
After losing.
after losing, and they're
Yeah.
coming home after beating one of the best, probably top 5 clubs in the MLS right now.
Yep. Yeah.
So
We'll get to that.
who knows? All right. So starting lineup against St. Louis. I'm doing 4 in the back. I'm gonna keep the same solid lineup. Left back Mora, center back Tolioma, Melanda, and then right back Byrne. On the defensive center, I'm gonna play 2 center mids. I'm gonna keep. Well, I would like to see Jones actually. I'm gonna say Jones as a back center mid, and then Westwood, more like a middle center mid.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive side, I mean. Yeah, Jones center defensive mid, and then Westwood just a center mid.
Okay.
Left wing, Vargas, and then right wing. Right wing, I think it just needs to be Santos at this point.
Yeah. We've tried everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Gaines just needs to prove himself coming off of a sub.
Yep,
Or-
I agree.
I'm not sure. Like I said, like the guy's only got the one move, and if that defense is playing super far back, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And it just seems to freeze up. So right now, Santos. I just want to see what Santos brings to the table. And then my 2 strikers is gonna be Swiderski and Capetti, just because I want to see that chemistry build.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, for me, I think I'm going to keep a lot of that same stuff. I think the only changes for me are going to be to keep Bronico in. I just don't think you can justify benching him. And I get, Jones has been a great player every time we've seen him. And I'm, been a Derek Jones fan since day one. But Bronico really impressed me on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that's what we need right now, more so than the defensive side of the ball. And I think honestly, I think that's probably the only change I'm going to make. Yeah, keep Vargas, keep Santos. I'm going to have Swiderski as like the number 10 again and give him another shot at that. And
Yeah.
Copetti as the number 9. And just hope that kind of plays out. But yeah, I mean, I think those are the only 2 changes really going forward for me from Saturday's starting 11 is just Vargas and Santos. You guys are up. Better put some in the back of the net.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Like we have so many players to choose from for just midfielders alone. Like trying to figure out like where does Ben Bender fit into this formation.
Yeah, that's true.
Lindsay didn't see any minutes.
Man, that's got to be tough for Lindsay from being
yeah,
a full 90 guy every game to
Yep,
not even seeing the field anymore.
exactly. Who was? And we still haven't seen a bunch of
No
guys.
awful.
And now wasn't McCoon on? Who
He was
did
in
get
New England, actually. Yeah, he
Yeah.
got traded to New England. I don't know what happened, though. I don't know if he played or what.
I think they realized they got a lemon.
Yeah, they tricked ya.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure. What's his name? The pig.
Neither Rooney.
Yeah, Rooney is the same thing about Yazviak.
Yeah.
But looking at the lineup, he was on their bench lineup, Christian McCoon.
Okay.
But yeah, no, he didn't make an appearance. And that was another thing. We like from this game, only 2 subs on our side, and I think maybe 2 or 3 for New England,
Mhm.
which just seemed odd. I mean, it's the beginning of the season. I don't know if they were just both desperate to just win, or they lost track of time. The subs came on at a good time. The 63rd minute and then the 75th.
Yeah, that
But
was
then-
nice to see Latanzio use the subs, especially like Vargas
Early.
for Yazwiak was like nice to see early because it was like, man, this
Yeah.
is clearly not working. Like,
Yeah.
switch it up early. So that was, big difference from last season where it was like 85th minute he puts 2 guys on and it's like, bro, what are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. But it was only like 1 player. I was just like, you gotta get at least 3 players in there, 3 to 4. You're giving 5 subs now. You gotta rotate guys.
Yeah, it is interesting. We didn't see like Santos come on or Bender come on like at all on Saturday, but who knows? What do you think of Bender's hair? Did you get to see it?
Yeah, it's long.
He looks like Herman Crespo out there, but without the massive nose.
Yeah, he looks like he could play in an Italian league.
Yeah. Looks like Angel from Real Madrid. Like, boy, you are in the wrong league.
If you're
Hopefully
gonna
it
have
starts
long hair,
scoring
you
like
gotta
him.
you gotta play up to it.
Yeah. If not, it's like that's like embarrassing.
Yeah, if
You got bad hair and you're not playing well. Jeez.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. That's like the one rule. It's, if you're gonna have crazy hair, you have to play well. Otherwise,
yeah.
back to the basics.
Yep. Shave it. You gotta shave it.
Shave it.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap this up with our prediction for this weekend. Are you kind of reevaluating that after what we saw St. Louis do to Austin, or are you thinking maybe it was a fluke and we're still gonna beat up the new kid on the block?
No, because what did I say last time? Like 2-0?
Something like that.
I'm going to say 3-0.
Oh man, so you haven't really lost any confidence, huh?
I haven't lost any confidence. I think we're going to go and get 3 points on the road.
Yeah, man. When you think it through a little bit, you're like, this is actually gonna be a lot harder than I thought originally. I'm definitely more nervous because, like you said,
this is supposed to be the easy game.
They won their opener. They beat Austin FC on the road. They scored 3 goals in their debut, and now we got to go on the road. Something we've not done very well.
Yeah.
Play in their home opener when they're gonna be hype. Coming.
And it was a comeback win for them too.
Yeah, like they're gonna be super hyped, and we are so down right now. Like late minute loss, home opener loss, going on the road off of a home loss. Like
Swiderski
man.
fit.
Yeah, things are they're not looking good.
We're on the up and up.
I mean, things can only go up, right? I mean, sheesh. Well, we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping, maybe we ruin their Saturday night like we got ours ruined, and it's like a 1-0 89th minute winner. And that would be a nice little bit of poetry or something there. But I'm hoping it's still a win. Like maybe Austin underestimated them, and we'll be able to be a bit more prepared after seeing some footage. And I think we have like the team to do it. Like the back line looks so good. The offense has potential. Like it all looks good on paper, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. I meant to ask you too. What did they do for the national anthem? Did they keep the tradition going, or?
Oh, so they brought the same lady back. I forgot her name, but they brought her back, and she sung maybe like a quarter of it. She sang more than like most than everyone else has that's come and done it. Some of the people they brought out literally would just sing like 2 words and then let the crowd take over. She did a couple of lines and then the crowd took over. But it was cool. Yeah, it was nice that that's gonna stay a tradition.
So we still gotta pay for tickets and come sing for them.
I know, we got to do their job. Jeez.
Nice.
Yeah, I will say like, the energy was lower this home opener, but it was also like way less chaotic. At least in my section, like people's concession credits were working. Like everyone was getting their food and drinks, and all that was good and working. As opposed to like last season, everyone was just pissed. Like, this app doesn't work. I can't get my nachos. And just, man, so
The chaos is coming. Wait till
yeah,
wait till the bobbleheads.
wait till the summer storms and you can't get in the stadium and you just have
Oh,
to sit
yeah.
outside. Oh, people are gonna be pissed.
Gonna be a good season.
Oh yeah, get there early and just
That-
hang out inside like I did.
And I know we're trying to wrap it up. But that's another thing I like made a note of when I turned on the game. Our field sucks. I mean,
Our
our
field
field, it
sucks.
looks ugly. You can see those stripes. Like whoever.
Copetti mentioned it in his post-match interview. I think with
it
Top 10
just
90,
sucks.
he said like it's gonna take him some time to get used to the field. It was very different, he said.
Yeah.
And dude, I mean, it looks like they're playing like on. I mean, it looks like they're playing on rubber mats, like the way the ball
Yeah.
bounces and stuff.
yeah.
Like,
It doesn't. It just slides.
yeah,
It just. Yeah. It just. We need our own stadium with some grass.
yes, some Kentucky bluegrass.
Yeah. Boo.
All right, well, that's gonna wrap it up for me. Any closing notes from you?
No, just let the listeners know where to find us. We'll get some shout outs. We'll read some comments.
Yep. So this is available on all major podcast platforms. Offsides, the unofficial official podcast of Charlotte Football Club. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at offsides_CLTFC. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are listening to this on YouTube. Don't forget to leave a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. And if you really enjoyed the episode and you want to help us out, share it with a friend. Word of mouth is going to be the best way for us to grow. So thank you guys for doing that. And for everyone that's already doing that, we appreciate it. And we will see you guys next week after hopefully a away road victory against St. Louis. We will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, wow, wow. You got to love that.